One day each week in Niori, a small elven town nestled into a mossy valley in eastern Herrig, small streams of water flow from multiple locations from the rock roof high above the valley, giving life to the flora, fauna, and people below. The people of Niori have long considered this day of falling waters to be a holy day, blessed by Hyjavim, the aspect of renewal, and it is on one such day that a mage-robed orc steps through the hang moss-framed doorway of the 9th chapel of Hyjavim. Her robes, so dark blue in color that they appear black at first glance, shuffle quietly as she pushes the hang moss aside. Her travels have brought her through most corners of the 6 caverns, though she scarcely has seen such beauty as found in the quaint valley of Niori. Inside the empty chapel, mats and pillows circle around a small plot of earth where several mangle flowers grow. The orc crouches down to admire the pure white petals, likely a rare variation of the fields of pink mangles she witnessed in other areas of Herrig. She looks up to see a golden band of glowing luminarite circling a foot-long hole in the roof of the chapel. On the day of falling waters, a stream pours down through the hole to water the mangles. I believe it to be a beautiful reminder of the goddess's sustaining of all living things. The orc woman does not stand, but angles her head to the entrance of the chapel, where a white-robed elven man stands, holding the hang moss aside. The elf's robes are decorated with green symbols around the sleeve cuffs, and the faintest traces of wrinkles line the bottom of his eyes, revealing centuries of a life, if not more. Though I imagine you'd worked that out already, Madam Akshaw. You know of me, priest? Asks the orc, her expression remaining neutral. The priest steps into the chapel, standing a few paces from the kneeling orc woman. I've heard word of your circus from the folk of Thalon and Sharon to the north, yes, but of more interest to me than your clown show are the rumors and whispers of your great wisdom and skill as a cleric. For all the tales of magery and prowess I've heard, though, it seems you've not made much of a name for yourself. It seems not many have heard the tales of you. For one as powerful as yourself, I wonder why that might be. Arkshaw returns her gaze to the white mangles, tracing her finger around a petal. Rumors and whispers do not befit a priest. There is a pause, as if the elven priest expects further comment. Continued silence spurs him to speak. Rumors or not, your wisdom precedes you. Despite your youth, your knowledge is as plain to me as the flowers before you. Another pause, another silence. Arkshaw does not avert her gaze from the mangles. I must ask of you a favor, Madam Orc. At this, the blue-robed cleric turns her attention back to the priest, who sighs deeply as a troubled expression forms on his face. There's a young boy who was given to this chapel 3 months ago. One morning he was simply here with no parent or companion. He's only 8 years of age, a mere infant. I knew his mother. She often worshipped the goddess here and brought the boy along. The poor woman was ill and died a few months ago. From what I understand, the boy's father left shortly after with hardly a word to anyone. Arkshaw's expression remains fixed. And how does this tragedy involve me, priest? You want me to take the boy from his home, have him travel from land to land? The elf's brow furrows as his gaze shifts to the floor. I'm sorry to say this was no home for the young lad. His parents were reclusive in consideration of his mother's sickness. The people feared her for it and feared the boy's father for his anger. He was known to spark chaos at times. Few go as far as to say the family is cursed by the goddess herself. No, Niore is no home for little Toren. The priest is met again with silence. After a pause, he lifts his eyes to look at the orc, who turns and for the first time meets his gaze. I had hoped he might venture with you and escape the curse of isolation the people of Neore have placed on him. To be known only for one's shame is to be unknown. Silence, longer this time. The eyes of the elven priest and the orcish cleric remain locked, the former's gaze pained and the latter's unknowable. Arkshal rises to her feet. What a show! Bellows Ortol, massive arms rising in gesticulation. The large mug of ale in his hand sloshes wildly. Some liquid falls into the bearded Goliath's shirt, though he doesn't seem to notice. You had him by the reins, Navenna! It's no wonder your name draws crowds like it does. Did you see the little gnome boy's face when you puppeted the skeleton over him? By the gods, he nearly knocked out his poor mother. The man drops his arms and mug down onto the table with a slam, causing more ale to spill out onto the stipewood. You, Toren, sit next to Ortol, and are nearly struck by the brute's wide motions.
It really was amazing, Miss Navenna. And also, you almost hit me, Ortol. Can you not do that?
Ortol laughs with a deep chuckle. Navenna elbows Torli, an older male gnome, who is still caught in a fit of laughter from the memory of the terrified little boy, before smiling at you. She currently takes the shape of a dwarf, perhaps a few years older than you, though she makes no secret of being a changeling able to change her appearance and form on a whim. Why, thank you, Toren. I certainly appreciate all that you do to help shows run smoothly as well. Someone's got to help this drunken fool. She elbows Torli again, who's still laughing, keep track of all his preparations and tinkerings.
I don't think Uncle Horley would be able to survive without me.
Ortol lets out a hearty laugh. Too bad you're not in the show itself, lad. I think I'd be a far more compelling cursed dwarf with someone to spar with. What do you say? We could trade a few blows, might end up with some cracked knuckles, but it's all part of the fun.
I think I'd walk away with more than just cracked knuckles.
Navenna rolls her eyes. Never in my life have I heard of a more ridiculous act. Why would stealing some artifact grant some giant size and stone skin? Isn't that basically a blessing? What would you do without me to cast stone skin on you anyway? Ortol bellows with glee once more. Torli, who had begun to calm down, makes eye contact with the Goliath and erupts once more into howls of laughter. His laughter quickly turns into a coughing fit, which further spurs on the drunken laughter of Ortol.
Well, I've learned some tricks from Torli that maybe I could do a performance at a show sometime soon.
Torli looks across the table at you, clearing his throat and wiping a laughing tear from his eyes. The boy's a quick learner. Taught him a few of my own tricks I've learned over the years, and he took to 'em like a moth to flame. He'd make a fine addition to Omnarisful, if Madame Arkshal will have him.
Your tricks are far better than mine still, Uncle Torli. Why did you never join the show?
Bah, Torli responds. My passion was engineering and transportation technology, you know that. My little tricks are just what an old gnome has picked up over the decades, but even in your handful of years with me, you've taken what I've shown you to a different level entirely. You could... Let's see it then, interrupts Ortol, mug now drained of alcohol and laughter, for now, subsided. Show us one of your tricks, young elf. Dazzle us. Torli nods his head fervently in agreement, and Navenna joins in with a hear, hear.
Okay. For my first trick, Navenna, please please pick a card. I fan out a deck of cards and have her pick one. And Ortal, please hold this ball. And I pull out a red ball and hand it to Ortal. Cup it in your hands, kind of like this.
He takes the ball from you and cups it between his two hands and looks at it intently.
Okay. Well, Miss Navenna, can I have the card back, please?
She gives you the card face down.
Okay. So I'm going to shuffle the deck of cards, and I'll pull out your card. And so I shuffle the deck of cards, and I pull the top off and reveal the card to the table. Is this your card?
Everybody kind of peers over and looks at it, and Navenna says, "No."
Oh. Okay. Let me try again. I shuffle again and pull the top card off. Is this your card?
Everybody leans over and looks again. Navenna looks at you with kind of a confused expression and goes, "Still not the right one."
Okay. Ortal, can you show me the ball, please?
Oh, certainly. He opens up his hands.
I reach into his hands and pull out a card. Is this your card, Navenna?
The table grows wild, and Navenna's like, "Oh my gosh, how did you do that?" And a shower of sparks kind of flies from your hands as you pull out her card. Ortol's laugh is deafening, and the whole table erupts into cheers. "Now just you wait until Akshal hears about this." A week later, you and Torley are in the middle of loading supplies onto the circus's large wagon when the mistress of the circus approaches. "Madam Akshal?" Torley questions, setting a box down. "Anything you need? There's someone I'd like you both to meet," the orc responds. She turns to you. Over the years, you've learned to pick up on the slight changes in Akshal's typical flat expression. The twitch of an eye, the slightest of smiles, a knowing look. Currently, you catch a hint of warmth in her eyes, or perhaps amusement. "I know you wanted to show me something, Toren. Ortol has made his impression of your talent quite clear. I had hoped to see it today, but this takes precedence. Come and see." The cleric turns to walk towards the mostly disassembled circus tent. Torley glances at you questioningly, shrugs, and follows her.
I will follow behind.
You hear the girl before you see her. A muffled wail greets your ears as you pass by laid-out tent poles, carpets, and boxes. Huddled down by a large wooden sign with the orcish words Amnar Isfal fancifully drawn upon it, a young woman cries into some sort of grey cloth, perhaps a cloak, her long auburn hair in disarray behind her. Sitting next to her are Ortol, seeming awkward, and Navenna rubbing the girl's back.
I'd like to try and take a closer look.
Okay. Roll me investigation, just a flat d20, no bonuses.
That is a 16.
16. Okay. So you notice a few things about this girl. First of all, you see that she is clearly elven. You see elf ears poking up from behind her red hair. Secondly, you notice that there are holes in the cloth that she's holding, as well as some of her clothes, and you smell a faint scent of smoke. You also notice that this robe appears to be too big for her. It doesn't seem to be her own robe. Is there anything that you want to do based on those things?
No, not yet.
Okay. Arkshal speaks. "She comes from the city of Emeron, a few miles south from here. Apparently, there was a fire in the housing district, and she's suffered terrible losses." The circus master kneels down a few paces from the girl, her expression unchanged by the sobbing girl. "Goddess knows why she ran here of all places. What are you looking for, girl?" After a few moments of deep breaths and fighting back sobs, the stranger lifts her head, her hair falling away from her elven ears. She appears to be a few years older than you, perhaps 17 or 18, and her face seems more rounded than the usual sharp features of an older elf. You are struck by her beauty, and equally struck by the large, purplish burn nearly covering the left side of her face. Navenna, seizing the opportunity, begins whispering a spell under her breath, fingers glowing and fluttering over the elf's face. The girl does not seem to notice and looks intently at Arkshal. I'm a dancer. I've studied for most of my life. I'm quick, nimble. Please, there must be a place for me in your circus. Though tears continue streaming down her face, her eyes do not waver from the orcs. The glow from Navenna's fingers dims momentarily as she glances at Arkshal before resuming her work. Arkshal angles her head in curiosity. You would leave your city behind, young one. You would have a life of wandering. Houses can be rebuilt. Yet people cannot, responds the girl. After a brief pause, the circus master turns to look at you. You catch once more that glimmer in her eye, be it warmth or amusement. A familiar sentiment, Toren. What say you to this ghastly predicament?
If there's a place for me, then there's a place for her.
For the first time of many, the elven girl's brown eyes meet yours. The crowd roars, whistles and cheers, bathing you in excitement and energy. A black cape with a red underside billows out behind you as you spin and take off your top hat for a bow.
Thank you, everyone. Now, for my next trick. You all know what a lilp glider is, yes? Well, what if I told you I could make one appear from thin air?
As you unclasp your cape from around your neck, allowing the audience to better see your movements, you catch a glimmer from a line of magical energy running through the mostly transparent sphere covering center stage. For the past decade, Arkshal has insisted on putting this anti-magic field around you during performances. Whenever your act is introduced, the audience gets to witness her creation of the sphere and wonder in the knowledge that whatever mind-blowing tricks you perform, none of them are aided whatsoever by magic. These 10 years have been the best of your life. You think back to your first demonstration before the circus master Arkshal, and that faintest trace of surprise on her face when she found her chosen card in Ortol's hands, prestidigitation sparks emanating from it. Any mage could deceive a crowd of skill, she had said. This time, you need to be more clever. You remember your horror as she proceeded to create that first anti-magic field around you, and how your tricks have been forced to evolve and expand over the years. You are reminded of your favorite variation of that old card trick, where you've learned to replace the magical sparks with flowers, candy, or even worms.
So with my cape kind of billowing out behind me so that everyone can see my movements, I start checking pockets, opening them up. I pull a bag from my side and open that up and kind of put it up to my face and being very dramatic with my actions, making myself look like I turn myself around. I look kind of lost. Moment of realization kind of dawns on my face and I take off my hat.
Okay, roll me a sleight of hand for this trick.
That is a natural 20.
Are you serious? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, you take off your hat and kind of fish around in there with the hand and don't find anything. You kind of turn the hat upside down and shake it as if trying to get something out of there, and nothing falls out. And then you lift a finger, again having a moment of realization, and you reach into the hat and pull out this little glider, and the crowd goes wild.
I will bow with much grandioseness. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And then I will walk off stage.
As you walk towards the backstage viewing window, you look excitedly towards the door where your fiancé, Farah Moonfade will enter from. Though the left side of her face retains traces of permanent burns, her skills are enough to draw adoring crowds. In many ways, Fira has become the beating heart of Amnar Isfal. Her skills and acrobatics are unmatched, yet her humility and joy help the circus troupe to feel even more like a family to you. Many times when you help with stage prep, old Torley reminds you to treasure each moment that you have with such a beautiful and kind-hearted lady. The trapezist, clad in a sparkling blue outfit, runs in, a ring half the size of her body in hand and a brilliant beaming smile on her face. She waves to the crowd, which erupts into cheers and screams. Farah's hair, much shorter than when you first met her, is tied neatly and beautifully into a bun at the back of her head. Cutting her hair had been hard for her, but it was necessary for this particular act. Farah walks to the middle of center stage and raises the ring triumphantly to the yells of her adoring fans. "All right, son, get spinning!" Torley shouts out. In his advanced age, you have steadily become more the brawn to his brains, though, to his credit, the gnome hasn't lost touch with his masterful contraptions.
Then I will move over to a nearby wall and spin a metal wheel there.
Okay, roll me a strength check.
That is an 8.
Okay. You successfully start turning this heavy metal wheel. As you crank the wheel, a slender pole slowly descends from directly above center stage towards Fira, along with 2 trapeze units lowering from either side of the stage. The roar of the crowd escalates as they watch the pole descend and come to a stop a foot or 2 above Fira's head. Fira swiftly connects her ring to an attachment at the end of the pole and raises both arms, continuing to smile and spur on the crowd. She then rushes to a trapeze and grasps it tightly with one hand.
I will spin the wheel the other way.
Okay, roll another strength.
13.
Okay, you do it without any problems.
I'll then nod to Navenna.
Navenna smiles and walks up to your side, placing a hand on your shoulder. Lately, she's seemed to enjoy sticking to an elf form, and today is no different. Though you've largely grown accustomed to her shape-shifting, the variations in height from the species she chooses can catch you off guard at times. Navenna looks out the viewing window and focuses on the ring, now high above center stage along with the trapezes. You feel a surge of magical energy from her and the ring erupts into flame. Torley walks up along your other side as the show truly begins. From her trapeze, Fira begins to swing back and forth. As her speed increases, the audience's anticipation grows, quieting their shouts. Left, right, left, right, then up as Fira swings her body over and around the trapeze to wild applause. Her smile is infectious.
I'll look up at her, still just as love-struck as the day I first saw her perform.
As Fira continues to twirl and sway, Navenna appears completely focused on the blazing ring, her hand steadying herself against your shoulder. You watch as your fiancé expertly moves, going from swinging to standing, from jumps to flips. You feel your heart rate increase, anticipating the moment of the leap. You watch as Fira does her final flip and begins her back and forth swing in preparation to launch herself, feet first, through the ring of fire. The audience holds a weighty silence and shares a tense heartbeat. Back, forth, back, forth. 3, 2, 1. I want you to roll me a perception.
That's a 2.
Okay. The trapezist lets go, and your world crumbles around you. Fira's scream pierces through the silence of the crowd as she falls 25 feet, smashing into center stage. A collective gasp of horror emanates from the crowd. Everyone backstage looks to Fira's unmoving body in shock, including Navenna, her gaze broken from her intense concentration. As the changeling shifts her focus, the fire of the ring warps and grows, hungry, licking upwards at the top of the tent and the supporting beams around it. Someone's talking, Torley maybe, but you can't understand what he's saying as he desperately tugs on your sleeve.
I ignore him and I run to the stage. No, 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 please, no, no, did I do... No, Fiera! Scenarios are running through my brain of me not checking everything. Did I make sure everything was okay? Did I pull it up right? Did I lock it in right? Did I cause this?
The circus is rapidly catching fire. Flames jump with ease from tent fabric to stipewood beam, beam to more fabric. Pieces of the tent and chunks of wood fall into portions of the now crazed crowd. Your world spins and your vision swims. The audience convulses like a dying animal as they scatter and run, spewing out of the circus tent like fresh blood from a wound. Suddenly, a groaning, creaking noise bellows from above. Glancing up as you run, you notice the large, horizontal central beam responsible for holding the trapezes, ring of fire, and much of the circus's upper structure crack, embers burning brightly inside. The crack rapidly splits the beam until a large portion of it slowly begins leaning downwards towards the stage and Fira.
And like, I'll see all of that happening, but I'm still just running towards Fiera's body.
Okay. As you run towards the inferno, audience thinning out rapidly before you, smoke enters your lungs and eyes, blurring your vision and slowing you with a fit of coughing. Sounds of ripping, tearing, creaking, snapping seem to be coming from everywhere. To your left, Ortol assists a young human whose leg is caught on something. To your right, you catch a glimpse of Arkshal, a sunken expression of defeat and horror obvious on her face, before some large, fiery piece of something collides with her, knocking her to the ground. The groan of the central beam being dislodged joins in the cacophony surrounding you, and suddenly, time is up. The beam falls with the ring of fire it supported, both smashing into center stage and releasing an innumerable army of embers. Flames grow into an impenetrable monolith before you, blocking Fira from your view. Toren, you have one opportunity to act. What would you like to do?
I will continue to run. I'll just run through the fire. My life is not of any matter here. It's my only priority is get to Fiera and get her out.
Okay, you arrive to center stage and there's just this big heap of burning wood and cloth. Flames are bursting up into the air. What do you want to try to do to help?
So I haven't reached her body yet, correct?
There's like a pile of stuff on top of her now, but you've reached center stage.
I want to just start trying to pull things off of her.
Okay. Roll me Constitution.
That's a 6.
6. Okay. You just go in blindly and start pulling away pieces of wood and pulling cloth, reaching into the flames, not caring for your own safety. Your arm gets severely burned and you sear with pain. You're not thinking straight and your mind is going wildly, lots of different directions, thinking about all of the outcomes. What happened? What are you doing? Is she okay? You're getting more and more injured. And suddenly you realize you're not going to be able to lift this stuff off of her. Your hands are on fire. Smoke is filling your lungs. The last traces of the crowd are running out of the tent. And your heart sinks.
I run. Tears streaming down my face. I realize I can't help and think maybe all those people when I was younger were right. Maybe I am cursed. And they might be able to save her if I'm not here. I get into the crowd and run.
Over the next few days, you scour the ashen ruins of the Omnar Isfal Circus, much to the dismay of Mrs. Mordell, an old human healer who found you, brought you into her home in Dartmouth, and tended your wounds. Most of the bodies are burned beyond recognition, leaving you, the friends and families who came to look for their loved ones, and the authorities who came to identify the dead, without many answers. 2 unmistakable corpses are identified: Ortol the Goliath and Arkshal the Orc. Though Fira's body was not recovered, what used to be the center stage is almost entirely ash, leaving little room for delusions of hope. Mrs. Mordell takes you into her home with open arms.
I think I spend a lot of time alone. I probably spend a lot of time at the location of the fire, just sitting there. A lot of like shell shock, probably PTSD. Realizing that like those friends I had all died and it hurts so much. And I don't ever want to feel that pain again.
12 years later, Mrs. Mordell dies in her sleep at a ripe old age. You, now age 37, are still a mere child in the lifespans of the elven people. When you are 78, Mrs. Mordell's son Corey dies of natural causes. When you are 105, now a young elven man, Mrs. Mordell's granddaughter, Rose, dies.
I think over time I did grow to love and care for this family. But each time they died, it was just a reminder of the things that I had lost before, and I wasn't willing to do it again. And so I think that's the point at which I leave and just begin a nomadic travel.
You travel from place to place, never staying in one town for too long. For centuries, you traverse the 6 caverns, living off the land and lying low in city life. You meet an innumerable amount of people, but remember very few of them. You live through the establishment of the 7th cavern, Velnium, witness the rise and fall of cities, and observe the ever-shifting balance of power between nations. Eventually, you become a runner, a perfect excuse for a life on the move until one day, you receive a request for delivery from a Cardolian dwarf named Orlane Targrim.